Hey everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. Today we're looking back at the hot comics from May 1st, 2020, and I'm recording this on October 29th, 2020. As always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 comics and the Comic Town Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. They each do a list of 10 books. And we look back and just to see how these books have done since, what factors made them hot then, how those factors have held up. Would you have been better off being patient? Should you chase them? Just so we all make better decisions about the hot comics and whether or not we're chasing books and when we're choosing to buy books. So this week, we have a few option news, some covers, a little comic buzz. So without further ado, let's get into this week's list and see what we can learn. So first up, we have Black Badge #1. This was optioned by Netflix, and as a result, jumped up to a $15 to $20 book with like a 400% increase in sales week over week. And this book is down. Right now, it's a $5 to $15 book. 9.8 can be had for $80, and it's just a typical factors we see with option news is there's news, but then nothing happens for a while. It takes a long time from the time something gets optioned before it goes into production or we see it. And that's if it ever does go into production and we ever see it. So no real surprise here. Pretty typical for most of these option news books to drop back like this. Next, we have Brothers in Arms #1, and this is a comic based on a video game, and this was also optioned. This game / comic was optioned for TV. This is a pretty low print run of only 7,600, and as a result, it jumped up to 15 to 20 as well. And I'd like to say I guess it's down. There's literally only been 4 sales in the last 3 months. And those were $15, $30, and $4. But you can buy this. Most of them are listed in that $15, $20 range, and people just start buying them. So yeah, this is just not much interest in this book right now. Next, we have a repeat from last week, the first of 4 repeats, actually, which might be a record. And it is One Punch Man, the free comic book day. As we talked about last week, this Japanese manga / anime has been optioned by Sony for potentially for a movie. The cat found the box. And yeah, so this has been optioned for a movie. By the second week on the list, it was up to a $40 to $50 book. Now it's down to around a $20 to $40 book, which is where it was at last week when we talked about it. 9.8s are $200 to $300. So this one's down a little bit, but still, and I'll be back, still a solid book. And if you've never read this series, I highly recommend it. Next, we're going to move into out of option news and into Spawn. And this is Spawn #241. And this is just one of those low print Spawns. This is actually one of the lowest print run Spawns. Key Collector claims it's the second lowest. I haven't done the math look myself, but they were talking about it as only having 11,000 print run. Back then, it jumped over a couple month period from a $30 book to a $100 plus book. And it's hard to say really what's going on with this book. This book's been a little bit all over the place. $50 to $200 for raw copies, which is a pretty wide range. But mostly it's selling in that 80 to 120 range. 9.8 went for $300, but that was literally just one sale during this last 3 months. So yeah, this has been I would say steady, but not really steady because it's been up and down. It's been a little all over the place. But these low Spawn books are definitely in high demand. People are wanting to complete their Spawn collection that maybe didn't get them originally. So yeah, there's definitely a market for these lower print Spawns. Next, we have Red Mother #1, and we're moving into covers. And of course, we had to have a Peach Momoko variant because this is 2020. And every week she had a variant coming out, it seemed like. And every week that almost one of those variants hit the list. Back then, raw copies were going for $40. 9.8 was hitting $120. Now it's raw copy. The only raw sale in the last several months was $60. 9.8s are still sitting in the $1 to $150. So most of the sales in this case have actually been 9.8s. So this one's been pretty steady. Definitely an I'll be back. With that, let's move into an artist I enjoy a little more than Peach Momoko, and that is Michael Turner. We have Superman Batman number 8, the Turner Virgin variant, which was, I believe, was an SDCC exclusive. And yeah, this one back then was going for $225 for raw copies. 9.8s were going for $350, and it's basically still in that same range, $2 to $225 for raw copies. 9.8 is going to set you back somewhere between $300 and $400. Just a gorgeous Michael Turner Supergirl cover. Probably one of his more famous covers. And yeah, this one is definitely still in high demand. With that, we're going to move out of covers and into comic buzz. And our comic buzz this week really has to do with one character and one series. And there's 3 books. And it is Venom. It's Donny Cates. It's Null. So first up, we have a repeat from last week, Venom number 3, the 3rd print, which is Null's first appearance, but also a cover appearance of Null. Not the first cover appearance, we'll get to that in a minute. Basically, by this week, it was up to 125 plus, and this book kept going up. Now it's a $200 to $300 book raw. But it is actually coming back down in a 9.8, as we talked about a little bit last week. Back in September, early October, it was still going $600-700. Now it's $450 to $500, and that's going back through the last 8 sales over about around 2 weeks worth that I could find on eBay and on the eBay and Go Collected marked, and all of them were in that $450 to $500 range. So this one has definitely dropped back, but still way up from what it was 6 months ago. And my guess is King of Black is about to start. It's probably going to go back the other direction pretty quick. Our next book is Venom number 4, the 2nd print, and this is a Null cover, sort of. It's actually a scene from the cover is actually a panel from the book, and Null is taking over an avatar, so sort of it's Null. But anyway, technically this serves as his 2nd cover because it came out before that 3rd print of Venom number 3, but after the book we're going to talk about in a second. So this 2nd print, now this one's been really weird. Back then, it jumped up to $30. Now it's raw 20 to 60 and really all over the place for raw copies. But what's strange about this one is in August, 9.8s were going for $200 to $300. In September, they were $125 to $175. And now here in October, there's only been a few sales and they've been $50 to $80. Actually, I guess there's only been 2 sales, $56 and $82 for 9.8. So this one has come crashing back down to earth pretty quickly, at least in terms of slabs. Raw books are still going in that same range, but yeah, I'm not sure. This one's been a little all over the place. Tough to really track, but that's kind of what's been going on. Our last Venom book that we're going to talk about is Venom number 5, the Frankies comics, store exclusive, Scan variant. And this is technically the first cover of Null. It came out before the 2nd print of 4 or the 3rd print of number 3. Back then, the trade dress was going for $40 to $50. The Virgin was going for $90. Now the trade's at $50 to $100. The Virgin's $100 to $150 raw. 9.8, $100 to $150 for the trade, and $200 to $250 for the Virgin. So this one is definitely up. And like most things associated with Venom and Null, it's definitely doing pretty well on the second market. Next, we have Sony movie buzz, I guess is the way to put it. And this is all related to Venom number 2, the 2nd Venom movie. And this is Amazing Spider-Man 361, the first appearance of Carnage. Last week we had, I think, the cameo was on the list. This week, because the name of the movie came out, I think it's Maximum Carnage. I think that's right, Venom 2, Maximum Carnage. Back then, 9.8 jumped from where they'd been for a long time. They'd been $300 to $400, $350 mostly for a long period of time. They jumped up to when we're going for $450. Now a 9.8 is going to cost you $550 to $700 right now. Raw copies are still in the $80 to $150 range, which is pretty close to what they were 6 months ago. But yeah, this book is the 9.8 on this is definitely been gaining traction. This book is up. We're getting closer to that second Venom movie, and yeah. So with that, we're going to move into MCU spec and buzz. And first up is Ultimatum #1. And this is pure spec why this hit the list. Basically, this is a storyline people think might be what they'll use to try to bring the Fantastic Four and the X-Men into the MCU. That this is a potential storyline. Back then, this jumped up to a $20 book. These storyline specs and movie moments tend to get a lot of play when they come out in the movie, but really don't hold up very well. I mean, this was completely spec on a movie that's not going to happen for a very long time. So this is now a $1 to $10 book. So yeah, this was definitely a trap. This book is definitely back down. No reason really to spec on this. I mean, I guess if you want to grab one for 1 to 10, yeah, but no reason to pay $20 for a book that might be a key related to a storyline way down the road. Definitely one to be patient on. Next, we have Tales of Suspense, #52, the first appearance of Black Widow. Obviously, this had everything to do with the Black Widow movie. I put a few prices on here, but really this was actually around the time that they were pushing the movie back. But there was still buzz. There was a 400% increase in sales week over week, which is why they decided to put it on the list, because for a big book like this, that's a lot of sales. And yeah, price range though has been pretty steady over the last 6 months. Definitely a straight cash book. Great character, great first appearance from the Silver Age. The cat's talking to me. Almost done, kitty. Next up, we have some DC movie spec, starting with Wonder Woman #7, the first appearance of Barbara Minerva, who becomes Cheetah. And this had everything to do with Wonder Woman 1984, which has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. But back then, this book was up to $25. Now it's still kind of in the $10 to $30 range for a raw copy. 9.8 go $150 to $200. So definitely an I'll be back. Still kind of sitting in that same range for raw books, depending on the condition and that kind of thing. But as we continue to just wait for that movie and for Cheetah to appear in it. So, been pretty steady over the last 6 months. Next, we have Batman Beyond #1. And this is the first appearance of Batman Beyond. And this is basically a lot of just spec that Batman Beyond. There was talk about maybe Batman Beyond in the Flashpoint movie, and there was some other stuff. So there was a lot of spec on Batman Beyond. Caused this book to jump for a 9.8 to jump up to 6 to 650. This book, much like Ultimate Fallout 4, Star Wars Clone Wars #1, has just went through the roof. Now a 9.8 is a $1,500 to $1,800 book. Raw copies go $250 to $400. Yeah, this book has just taken off and has continued to climb. Definitely a lot of interest in this character. A lot of people have fond memories of this cartoon series, and just a lot of interest in this character, and people thinking that at some point he's going to make it to some sort of live action. Next, we have our last DC book, and that is Green Lantern #87, the first appearance of Jon Stewart. And this basically came down to the announcement. This was the initial announcement that they were going to put a Green Lantern show on HBO Max, and that Jeff Johns was going to be involved, and everybody knew that he'd been working on a Green Lantern core movie, and that Jon Stewart was going to be had originally been planned to be a part of that, so people were specking on Jon Stewart. Kind of mid-grade fine copies were going for the 150 plus range. Now those same copies are more in the $200 to $300 range, with 8.0s going for around $400 to $500. Definitely a straight cash book. Tough book to get high grade because of that white cover, but a great character and a great book. So that brings us to our last category of the week, and that is Star Wars. And our last repeat book of the week is up first, Darth Vader #3, the first appearance of Dr. Aphra. By this week, it was a $40 to $50 book for for a raw copy. 9.8s were going for $150 to $200. And this book has continued to climb a little bit. 9.8s are $200 to $250 now. Raw copies are in the $40 to $60 range. So people are still specking on everything Star Wars and this character as well. So definitely another book that has continued to stay in the same range but climb a little bit. The cat is, wanting attention. But we are on our last book, so we're going to wrap up. Last up is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge #1, the Imagineers variant. This was a special variant that was only given to the designers of the Galaxy's Edge theme park. Imagineers are what Disney calls the engineers that design the theme parks. So this was a special variant of the comic book that was only given to those people that worked on the park. Thoughts are there's around 20 copies or so out in existence. One hit the market and it went for $1,600. Since then, there really haven't been many sales. There was a 9.8 sale back in June that went for $4,000. There's currently 2 listed on the market for $2,000 and $2,500 that haven't sold. So this book is definitely a ghost. I mean, there's just not very many of these out there. It's going to be hard to find. It's going to go for big money when it does come up. With that, we're going to wrap up this week before the cat knocks the camera over. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.